Well, hello and welcome everyone to Kenny Bears Arms. Today's video is going to be a little different. Why? Because we're taking a blast to the past. I was actually antiquing at an antique shop locally here, and I love rummaging through like old newspapers and stuff like that, just to see different weird stuff that happened. And I happened to stumble upon this Minneapolis Tribune, dated June 9th, 1968. So I don't know the exact context around this, but I thought it was interesting. Like the whole front of this Tribune thing was like a dedication to John F. Kennedy and the assassination and stuff like that. And maybe it has something tied into, because it also had mention about Martin Luther King's assassination too, right on the front page here. So I'm guessing that there must be some correlation or some sort of whatever to do with that. And there's some really interesting stuff in this article here. I might have you have to leave a comment down below if this interests you enough that I should go back and maybe find this newspaper and actually read more about it and dive deeper into it, because I think it could be interesting. Maybe I'll have to do that regardless of what you guys say in the comments below. But there's a little article right on the top here. New York police arrest a man carrying an unloaded gun outside St. Patrick's Cathedral. So even this is almost 40 years old, this newspaper now. It's that same stuff is happening over in New York that it's still happening today. But the main beef of this video that I wanted to get into with you guys is this Gallup poll that was featured on the back of here. I don't even remember how I got to this or how I even saw this. But so put your 1968 caps on. This is interesting. This is by George Gallup. You can leave that comment down below too if you want to play along. See how close you are to the results that I'm about to say. Princeton, New Jersey. A special nationwide survey conducted Wednesday, the day Senator Robert Kennedy was shot, shows the public calling for firearms registration as the best way to curb violence in America. President Johnson, the same day, appointed a commission of distinguished citizens to investigate the circumstances and causes of physical violence. He appealed to Congress to pass laws that would halt traffic in guns. Gallup interviewers talked to a national sample of 442 people in a special telephone survey conducted Wednesday night. These two questions were asked first. What do you think are the causes of violent behavior in this nation? Second question, what steps do you think should be taken to prevent such violence in the future? The public chiefly, I like how that is typed out like that, blames our complex society. The fact that the country has waited too long to tackle racial, ethnic, and religious prejudice. Poor discipline in the home. A lack of respect for authority among youth and disregard for God and religion. I've heard a lot of those things talked about today. I think even Colion Noir had a video talking about something similar about, or maybe it was Nick Freitas, but they both kind of do it, about how if you take away all the guns and you don't address the underlying issues of the violence and why these things are happening, because it's still happening over in the UK and stuff. Now they're working on getting knives off the street, as now the knives are the preferred tool of criminals and stuff over there. It's because evil still is going to exist regardless of what tool that someone wants to use. Interesting. Here are the steps proposed as ways to prevent future violence. Stricter gun laws. So this is 1968, guys. Laws to keep guns out of the hands of criminals, the mentally disturbed, and minors. Well, we see how well that has not done anything. Stricter law enforcement, including more police, less leniency by the courts. Now, there's some definite truth there, because we've seen it happen a lot in Minnesota lately. The courts are letting these multiple time offenders out on bail and stuff like that here, and they go off and do the same thing over again, And everyone's like, surprise Pikachu face. Like, why did he go out and commit these more crimes? That's just what criminals do, right? Greater security for candidates, including appropriate changes in presidential campaigning. Well, that has definitely happened. You've seen like their motorcades and stuff like that, and how the bulletproof limos and how thick those limos are. Remove programs of violence from TV. If anything, I think that has increased drastically. Like, Hollywood is obsessed with it. They love that stuff. The news outlets love glorifying like all the wars and everything that's going on. They just constantly roll it, especially with the 24-hour news cycle and social media and stuff. It's just constantly portraying all the acts of violence and all this terrible stuff. And obviously they've touted it so much in video games and stuff too. Like, there's that whole movement when video games started first coming out, like the first Grand Theft Autos and stuff like that, and people were like, oh my God, we gotta get rid of that. Improve parental control, including courses for parents on how to rear children. That could be something. That would be interesting. It'd be really interesting that, people want us to get licenses to have guns. They want us to go to training and blah, blah, blah to have firearms and stuff like that. I wonder how those same people would react if you said, hey, you have to go to classes to learn how to have a child before you can have a child. That would be very interesting to see how those people would react. Encourage a greater awareness of the importance of ethical behavior, including courses in schools. Yeah, definitely. We should definitely encourage more education and stuff like that in schools, especially around firearms and stuff like they used to do. Improve environmental conditions such as jobs and education. Interesting. Yeah. But what do we do instead? We focus on foreign wars and we focus on all this other foreign, issues and lack of border control and stuff like that. It's very interesting how we invest in all that stuff first, and instead our country itself feels like it, to a lot of people, is crumbling from within, especially when you look at prices of everything around, transportation costs, food, housing, and all that stuff. It's just up and up and up, and it's crazy how expensive everything is. Meanwhile, our taxes are going up. That's not going down. We get tax rebates, but then we're taxed on our tax rebates that we get for our taxes that we paid. Thank you, Tim Walz. I appreciate that, you friggin' guy. Ugh. I don't know where it goes, but this is a very interesting thing, and it kind of continues on a little bit more here. A law requiring a buyer of a handgun to obtain first a permit from a law enforcement agency. Well, that thankfully it's kind of up in the air, left and right. I guess some states are, I don't know, that's different everywhere, but that still exists for sure. Abandon sales of rifles or shotguns to anyone under 21. Under the federal anti-crime bill passed by Congress and sent to President Johnson last week, handguns could not be sold to anyone under 21. Okay. A limit of carrying guns in public places. A bodyguard at a political rally should be able to carry a gun, the governor said, but not every Tom, Dick, and Harry ought to be able to come armed to a rally. Okay. Only carrying a concealed weapon is banned by state law. And Riley said a gun presumably may be carried even into a courtroom, if not hidden. That's interesting. A requirement that gun buyers register occupation, citizenship, and the length of residence. Wow, can't read. The Crime Commission recommended that gun sellers be required to give state officials the name, age, and address of each buyer. Wow, okay. So even back then, it kind of seems like they were trying to do a pseudo registry, if you will. So this is very interesting stuff for sure. But like I said, if you found this interesting, leave a comment down below what you think about this. If I should go back and maybe see if I can find that newspaper and get the whole thing for you, that'd be really interesting. I just thought reading stuff from 1968's perspective and kind of, bringing it back to today's values and today's 40 years later, it's wait, no, that's even longer. 68, holy crap, I can't math. I'm sorry, I've been sick for 2 weeks now, so my head is still messed up. So I apologize for the bad math. But anyway, that's a heck of a long time span of difference to kind of gather and see how the world and our environment and stuff has changed. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Like I said, I've said it like 1,000 times now. I'm sorry. And discuss. I'm very curious. It's very interesting. Like, comment, consider subscribing. See you in the next one.